Hello everybody, today I am talking to you about dealing with your aging parents' health issues. A lot of you who are my age, 55 and above, are starting to have to deal with some serious health problems of our parents. And today I'm specifically going to talk to you about when your parent is diagnosed with dementia, what you might expect, some of the costs that might be associated with it. And I'm going to do this video just to help you cope and just to get a little bit of setting the expectation of what might be happening with your parent who has dementia. My name is Dawn Dickinson. This is my personal channel where I post all sorts of videos that don't relate to Northern Arizona real estate, and I hope you enjoy this video. So my mother is 82 years old, and she was diagnosed with not only vascular dementia, but Alzheimer's disease about 4 years ago. And initially, the signs were a little bit subtle, although maybe had we been more educated, we would have been aware of that, what was happening. But about 4 years ago, she initially went into assisted living, but by the time the doctors had actually, given her an appointment and read the MRI report, they realized that she had a pretty serious case of the vascular dementia at least, and moved her immediately into a memory care facility. Now, that was a shame, because if they had moved a little bit faster, we might not have had to move her twice in 6 months, but that's how it ended up happening. Now, some of you might be wondering what are the costs of putting a parent in a memory care facility, and in Arizona, we are paying about $75,000 to $85,000 a year for my mother to get the care that she needs. Now, some of you I've heard on other platforms go on about how terrible it is to put your parents in one of these facilities, but the reality is, when your parent gets to a certain point, they cannot take care of themselves, and you will not be able, unless you are a trained nurse or physician, to take care of your parent as well, unless you have no job. Like, there's no way you can have a job, part-time job, you can't have a child and dedicate what it takes to keep your parent safe and alive when they have this stage of advanced dementia. And even if you want to, just recently, actually about 9 months ago, a friend of mine whose parent was still at home, not nearly in as advanced stage as my mother's, but they were in the shower and their mother wandered out, and it took them 3 days to find their mother, and she had wandered off looking for her sister. I'm going to walk over to my sisters who lived in Seattle or someplace, and they found her passed out behind a dumpster at McDonald's. Now, had that been summertime in Arizona, in about 3 hours, somebody would get heat stroke and pass away. So before you start condemning other people for putting their parents in an assisted living or a memory care facility, realize that it's nearly impossible to watch over your parent and keep them safe when they are in that stage of advanced dementia. So I live out of town, and so I'm only able to see my mom maybe once or twice a month at the memory care facility, and I do believe that they do a great job taking care of her. Plus, she's also being taken care of by Hospice of the Valley, who are an amazing group of angels that care for elderly and dying patients, and they have been a godsend to Hospice of the Valleys. Though I have 2 support facilities looking after my mother, and yesterday I was able to go see her, and I probably haven't seen her in about a month because recently there was COVID in the facility and they didn't want people going in. So I was able to see my mother. Now, typically when I am going to visit my mother, I am expecting something to happen for me to be severely emotional or some kind of stress. And you may experience this yourself, where a day or two before visiting your mom or your dad, you get severe anxiety, not able to sleep almost a whole night just because you're anticipating something bad. So yesterday I show up to see my mother, and she's actually looking pretty good. Of course, extremely frail and old compared to my memory of her, but we're having a nice conversation. And then at some point she goes, I've been looking for my husband Jack. I haven't seen Jack. Do you know where he is? Have you seen Jack? And my face just freezes, and I have to explain to my mom, Daddy died 19 years ago. And she's like, no, he didn't. And I'm like, yeah, Mom, yeah, he did. He had a massive heart attack and he died. And then I had to see the look on my mother's face, where she, for the first time, you would think, it was like going back 20 years and realizing that she had just become a widow. Now she starts crying, oh my God, he's dead. And I'm like, Mom, that if Dad was here, he would be visiting you here all the time. And then we had the conversation, oh yeah, I think I feel him in spirit. And, eventually, not eventually, about a minute later, the hospice nurse comes in and is like, all right, Marie, we need to go and take care of your wound. And then she forgets the whole conversation. For like my mother now, this is reset. She's forgotten that she just learned my father is dead, even though he's been dead for 19 years. But for me, it was like deja vu. I have warped back in time 20 years ago to when my mother first told me she came home and found my father dead. And I'm in the denial. No, that's a mistake. So I watched her do what I did to her when she told me 19 years ago my father was dead. And then I had the deja vu of me having to call everybody that knew him and said, I know you just talked to my dad 12 hours ago, but he's gone. And so I had all that flush of emotion flowing up through me. So not only having to deal with my mother in this advanced mental cognitive decline, but now I'm reliving like it just happened yesterday, the biggest tragedy of my family's life, and I'm flush with emotion. I go, now it's time to go home. I go and I sit in my car and I cry. And then I text my brother and sister what happened. But now they have seen this before, but because they say that, she's asked for Dad, or she's asked for her parents who've been dead even longer, and they just kind of skirt around it. But this was the first time to my face she asked, where's your dad? And so I realized I probably would have been better off to just say, oh, Mom, he's working late. He'll be by this evening or something like that, because she forgot. Again, about 30 seconds after the conversation, she forgot that I just told her my dad was dead for the first time in her cognitive mind, but really he's been dead for 19 years. So I go home now and, I run a business, so I have to be always attentive to my business. I have so much work, but I'm like in this state of shock and cannot work for the rest of the day. And of course, today I'm super behind. Actually, if you're a small business owner, you're probably aware that you're always behind, but it really set my emotional state back for the rest of the day and probably into today, because all of those feelings that I had to deal with 20 years ago are now fresh wounds again. So this is the kind of thing that you have to deal with when your parent is in that state of mental decline. And also when you go visit them in the facilities, it's a lot like when I was substituting. For a few years I was a substitute teacher, and I would go into like the kindergarten classroom or the preschool classroom. You've got a group of people that are mentally about the age of preschoolers, and you see them doing the activities, and it's like, wow, that's my mom. She's like 3 years old mentally. So all of this is very difficult for us adult children to deal with emotionally, and so you need to get prepared that it's going to be a long road ahead, and these are the type of things that you're going to have to deal with. Not only the financial difficulty it is to take $75,000 to $85,000, and figure probably the lifespan after the diagnosis of dementia is 5 to 10 years, so your family could be wiped out, and then the government doesn't come in to help you out until you're financially destitute, because they're too busy giving money to countries that hate us and ridiculous projects to actually help families that are in need because of aging parents. So I hope this video gives you a little bit of an insight what you might be dealing with, and I'm sorry to break the bad news to you, but once your parent has the dementia, it's a long, difficult road, and just look for emotional support from people. I want you to know that even though I don't know you, my heart is with you, and we need to all be supportive so we can get through this together. Again, my name is Dawn Dickinson. This is my personal channel where I post all sorts of videos that are not real estate related. If you like the video, please do me a favor and give me a thumbs up. And also, I'm just getting this personal channel started, so if you like videos like this, I will be doing more about dealing with aging parents and issues related to us living over 55 years old. So if you like that type of content, please subscribe, and I hope to see you back here again next time.